Oh, my handsome chief. Eat, eat, chief, and you will see only me. The morning sun poured through the tall glass windows of Chief Obina's Ikoyi mansion, bouncing off marble floors and expensive art. Everything screamed wealth. The carefully trimmed hedges, the high gates, the glistening SUVs parked in the driveway. Inside, Ngozi, his wife, was arranging fresh roses in a golden vase. She moved with grace, the picture of a woman who had everything, or so it seemed. Chief Obina strolled in, dressed in a sharp white kaftan, newspaper in hand. He smiled at her. Ngozi, my jewel, you work too hard around this house. Why don't we get some help? Ngozi sighed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Help? You know I don't like strangers in my home. But Obina insisted. His booming voice carried authority. Nonsense. You deserve to rest. I'll have Mama Nkechi send one of her village girls. And just like that, the decision was made. A week later, the compound's heavy gates creaked open. A young woman stepped through. Amara. Barefoot in rubber slippers, a small Ghana must-go bag in hand, her eyes scanned the mansion with quiet awe. She bowed slightly. Good afternoon, ma. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Amara. Ngozi forced a polite smile. Something in the girl's eyes, steady, almost too bold, unsettled her, but she brushed it off. After all, she was just a maid. The mansion's kitchen was spotless. Shining granite counters, huge double-door fridge, shelves stacked with imported spices that Ngozi barely used. That night, when everyone slept, Amara crept into the kitchen barefoot. Her movements were deliberate. She placed a small clay pot on the counter and opened her bag. Inside were things Ngozi never stocked. Dried leaves, black powder, strange roots tied together with red thread. Amara whispered words under her breath, grinding herbs with a small stone. Her eyes glowed, faintly in the moonlight, streaming through the window. She dipped her fingers into the powder, then sprinkled it over the pot of stew simmering gently on the stove. The stew hissed as though alive. She stirred slowly, smiling to herself. Eat, chief, eat, and you will see only me. At that very moment, Ngozi stared in her sleep upstairs, shifting uncomfortably. The night air felt heavy, almost watchful. The next day, it was time for dinner. The dining table glittered under the chandelier that night. Silver cutlery, wine glasses, steaming plates of jollof rice, and spicy goat meat stew. Ngozi sat gracefully at the head, her eyes on Obina as he picked up his fork. He scooped a spoonful of stew, the one Amara had cooked, and brought it to his lips. The moment the taste hit his tongue, his eyes flickered. He chewed slowly, then broke into a wide grin. Ha! Ngozi, this is delicious. My God, it tastes like home, like my mother's food in the village. Ngozi blinked. She hadn't cooked this meal. Obina turned to Amara, who was clearing plates at the side. Amara, did you prepare this? The maid lowered her eyes modestly, but a small smile tugged at her lips. Yes, sir. Obina clapped his hands together, laughing heartily. From today, you are in charge of the kitchen. Ngozi, let her handle the cooking. You've done enough. Ngozi's fork froze halfway to her mouth. She forced a smile, but inside, something sharp twisted. The stew on her plate suddenly tasted bitter. Upstairs that night, as Obina snored contentedly beside her, Ngozi lay awake staring at the ceiling, She couldn't shake the image of Amara's faint smile at the dining table. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, Chief Obina became a different man. He no longer asked Ngozi what she wanted for dinner. Instead, every evening, his booming voice echoed through the mansion. Amara, bring me your stew. Ngozi would watch helplessly as he devoured plate after plate after plate, smacking his lips, sighing with satisfaction like a child tasting honey for the first time. He started praising Amara openly, right in front of his wife. This girl cooks like an angel. Ngozi should learn from her. Ngozi's heart sank each time. Once, she set the table with her own carefully prepared egusi soup. Obina barely touched it. He pushed it aside, calling for Amara instead. Take this away. Where is my Amara's food? Ngozi's face burned with shame. It wasn't just the food. Chief began drifting away from her in little ways. He spent less time in their bedroom, claiming he was too busy or tired. He laughed more freely in the kitchen with Amara than he did with Ngozi in the living room. At night, Ngozi would wake up to find the other side of the bed empty, her husband's slippers missing. Once, she heard muffled laughter drifting from the kitchen below. She crept halfway down the staircase, peering through the shadows. There was Obina, still in his nightrobe, sitting at the counter with a steaming plate before him. Amara stood close, too close, her hands brushing him as she served him more stew. Obina's eyes gleamed with something Ngozi had not seen directed at her in months. Ngozi clutched the banister until her knuckles turned white. A cold dread spread through her chest. Something unnatural was happening in her home. Ngozi's world began to unravel. She felt constantly drained, as though the life was being pulled out of her body drop by drop. Her once radiant glow dulled. Her eyes, once full of pride, carried dark shadows. Chief Obina grew more distant. Arguments erupted over nothing. He snapped at her, defended Amara, and spent long evenings away from their room. At night, Ngozi's sleep turned restless. She dreamt of the house help seated at her dining table, smiling mockingly, wearing her jewelry. Sometimes, she dreamt of Amara, laughing, her voice echoing cruelly, while Ngozi sat voiceless in the corner. One dream froze her blood. Amara sat in her place at the head of the table, with Obina by her side, holding her hand. Ngozi reached to stop them, but her hands passed through like smoke. Amara looked at her and whispered, "You are already gone." Ngozi woke up, screaming, drenched in sweat, her chest pounding. Something had to be done. One night, unable to sleep, Ngozi left her bed and moved silently down the corridor. She heard faint whispers coming from the kitchen. She hid behind her door and peered through the crack. Amara was there, a small clay pot before her, herbs spread on the counter. She ground them into powder, chanting a tongue Ngozi didn't recognize. The flicker of the gaslight made her eyes look otherworldly. Then, Amara took the powder and sprinkled it into the stew, smiling wickedly as she stared. Ngozi's heart slammed against her ribs. Her worst fear was true. It wasn't just seduction. This was jazz. She stumbled back, covering her mouth so her gasp wouldn't escape. Tears pricked her eyes. Her husband was being bewitched in his own home. The next morning, Ngozi traveled straight to her mother's house in Surulere, trembling. She explained everything: the food, the dreams, the ritual she had witnessed. Her mother listened quietly, then nodded gravely. "You are not wrong, Ngozi. This is food charm. That girl has tied your husband's soul through his stomach." They brought in a family priest, an elderly man with piercing eyes. After Ngozi recounted the story, he shook his head. "Your husband is under a spell. But charms like these always end one of two ways. Either you break it quickly or it consumes both the victim and the one who cast it. Ngozi clasped her hands, desperate. How do we break it? The priest replied slowly, "You must stop him from eating her food. The spirit she calls are fed each time he swallows her stew. If the chain is broken, the charm will weaken. But be careful, these spirits do not leave quietly." Ngozi's jaw tightened. She knew what she had to do. That evening, Amara prepared Obina's favorite dish, spicy goat meat stew. This time, she doubled the powder, chanting loudly, pouring everything into this final meal. "Tonight," she whispered, "he will be mine completely." But she didn't know Ngozi was watching from the shadows. Her heart steady, her eyes sharp. When Amara left the kitchen, Ngozi slipped in. With trembling hands, she tipped the pot into the sink, washing away the stew and its dark whispers. Then she replaced it with her own fresh pot of stew she had hidden earlier, untouched by charms. When Obina sat at the dining table, Amara served him proudly, her smile triumphant. He took the first bite, and for the first time in weeks, he frowned. This tastes different." Amara's smile faltered. She rushed forward, but Ngozi's voice rang out, strong and cutting. "Because it is not your food." The room froze. Amara turned sharply, eyes flashing. "What are you saying, madam?" Ngozi stepped closer, her voice shaking with fury. "I saw you grinding herbs in the dead of night, whispering to spirits, poisoning my husband's soul through his food. You thought I wouldn't know?" Obina blinked, confusion clouding his face. "Ngozi, what nonsense is this?" "Check her bag," Ngozi snapped. Reluctantly, Obina turned to Amara's corner. When he pulled out her small Ghana Moscow bag, his hands trembled. Inside were leaves, powders, cowrie shells, and a small clay idol smeared with palm oil. The truth spilled open, undeniable. Amara dropped to her knees, tears streaming. "Chief, forgive me. It was only to make you love me." But Obina recoiled, horror in his eyes. The spell began to crack. He pressed his temples, groaning as though waking up from a long dream. The priest had warned that spirits do not leave quietly. That night, Amara fled to the servants' quarters, but her screams pierced the compound neighbors, gathered, whispering players. They found her thrashing on the floor, her eyes rolling, foam on her lips. She clawed at her stomach, shrieking, "They are eating me! They are eating me!" Her body convulsed violently, and then, just as suddenly, she went still. When they looked again, the clay idol from her bag had crumbled into dust. Amara lay there, lifeless, her once bold gaze now empty. The spirit she had called upon had taken their payment. So, in the days that followed, Chief Obina wept. Oh, he wept bitterly, clinging to his wife's hands, begging for forgiveness. Ngozi, who was still hurt, held her head high. She forgave him, but the scar of betrayal lingered like a shadow. Standing on the veranda one cool evening, Ngozi gazed at the setting sun. Her voice was soft, but it carried weight. She said, "A home is not just about money or beauty. It must be guarded. Evil often enters quietly, sometimes through the food we eat." She closed her eyes, exhaling deeply, as if releasing the last traces of Amara's spell. The mansion seemed calm again, but its silence carried a warning. And so, the tale ends. Not with loud drums, but with a quiet lesson. Trust carefully, guard your home, and never take love for granted. But tell me, my friends, do you think Chief Obina truly learned his lesson? Or will history repeat itself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I can't wait to read them. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Till next time, bye family!